Chih-Jou Cheng is a Taiwanese movement artist, puppeteer, and choreographer who I first met when we moved in together while attending Columbia College Chicago during ye old plaguey times. Before pursuing her MA, she trained at the National University of Tainan in Taiwan and Otterbein University in Ohio. In addition to appearing on some of Chicago's biggest stages, Chih-Jou is the founder of the Dawn Theater Project, where she's developing several new works, including Lost and Found, a piece that explores the immigrant experience and recently had its first workshop production. Chih-Jou has also created Above the Water, a duet performance exploring the grief from the loss of a parent. One of the things I love most about Roro is her enthusiasm for exploring the artistically bizarre. So join us now as we dive into the devised. Thank you for meeting with us today, Chih-Jou. We were hoping to speak with a lot of artists, and you're at the top of our list of perspectives that we're really hoping to get to hear from. So yeah, thank you for being with us here today.
Of course.
So, what kind of theater do you make?
I mainly do devise physical theater, but my background is in theater in education applications. So I really just do whatever that can best serve the project. So whether that it's like an oral history theater or it's more like an immersive art installation or physical theater, it depends. Yeah.
If you were to describe what that looked like or what the experience would be like for those coming to see your work, what would they expect?
Like I say, it really depends on the project. So like for example, the very first community theater show I did, it's a oral history theater that's more like a play. Um, so and that's a immersive theater, so we kind of like um conduct a workshop for the elderly in a specific community back in Taiwan, and then through the interaction with them, and then we then share story with each other, and then we did a little bit of research about the community. So then we devise into a play, and then we make that play in their alley. So as the audience come, they kind of gather in the spot of the alley, and we travel through the alley in their community and just have some multiple small scene happen in the community. And so the audience can get to experience what it feels like back in the day and eat the food that they had back in the day and
Sure.
dance with us. And we end up with like a very traditional community activity right outside of the temple, the center of that community. And that's the experience. It could be one version. And then, for example, like the show I'm doing right now, it's very proscenium. So we devised a physical theater show called Arabian and Dawn. It's about finding your own sense of belonging through the lens of immigrants' experience. And and we kind of interview a lot of immigrants, like local immigrants in Chicago, and have their permission use their story as inspiration for the character. And then we create into like we create that into a word this physical theater show. And what the audience will receive that it's more like a traditional proscenium showing progress. But what's different about that is we will always have some sort of engagement activities. So
Mhm.
like outside we'll have some sort of display um, from the workshop we host, like whether that's like a memory box or some art exhibits. And then before the show, we will have some sort of interactive activity for the audience to interact with each other before they start viewing the show. So
Are you going to use the postcards again? I still have mine from the earlier iteration of this piece.
I think so. I really like that idea, but if the other idea pop out, we might try it. Yeah.
I can say as an audience member, I thought it was a lovely experience to be able to connect with someone that way.
Oh, yeah. Then maybe we will keep it.
Well, yeah, I think it's interesting. You've got you're talking about with the site-specific works, and then now in a more proscenium-based situation. They're both storytelling theater. They're still both bringing people's voices to the stage. Yeah, what other ways are excite you about bringing the present scenery, the location to the theatrical performance? Are there other ways you're experimenting with?
Right now, potentially, I don't know it because the site specific thing it really require permission,
Sure.
space permission in order for us to really rehearse there, put a exhibition there, or even block out the entire block to do
Right. Yeah.
that show. So I think I haven't find that connection here, and being a freelance artist here, there's so many limitation. So if opportunity occur, I would love to do it again, but for now, probably not.
Okay.
You said there's a lot of limitations being a freelance artist. What do you think are, or what do you think is the biggest challenge of being a devised physical theater performer?
Like specific in Chicago or like
I mean, here, so for here or for back in Taiwan, specifically, what are the challenges? Like, yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is device take a lot of time. Takes a lot of time to do research, takes a lot of time to get to know your ensemble, building that trust connection before you can even start devising. That's already really hard. And I think the add on to living in Chicago, the most challenging part is everything is so expensive and you don't even have security about food and healthcare. So that's additional stressful situation being this specific art form artist here. Yeah, so the funny thing is before this year, my primary income is very much from musical theater, those kind of like commercial theater. Yeah.
Sure.
We keep using the term devised theater and devising, and some people watching these videos might not be familiar with it. And Mark and I have a different definition of what is devised theater. So, how do you define it?
Can I hear your definition first?
Later. Yeah, but you're the one on showcase here. So yeah, how would if again spitballing, talking to someone on the street or an actor who's only had training in musical theater, like how would break it to them?
Yeah, so I think for me, really the closest words for devising is a collaboration, but more on the personal scale. I think devising for me, it's a sense of community. It's like you bring in people's idea, you bring in people's culture background, and bring who they are as an artist to together you create something brand new. So it's very from the traditional setting of like you have a play, you study this character, you come from a very more authentic place of like you finding your own personal connection to the project, then you create a character through that. So even the final outcome can be like a play, a musical, performing arts form. But I think the roots come from empathetic empathy. I can't speak English. A compassion place that really trying to embody this topic in order to connect with your ensemble member and further connects with the audience when you showcase the piece. Yeah.
You're in a process now developing Arriving at Dawn, the newest iteration. Can you give us a little glimpse into what your rehearsal process looks like?
Um, so we always start with some sort of warm-up game. that leads into whatever we need to devise that day. So for example, like if this is a scene we really need some voice, whether that it's a sort of singing or like gibberish, then we play a little game around that, and then talk a little bit about the scenery, what's the character struggle, what's the character's background, and then we kind of just embody it. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to. So, how would you define embody it for again people on how does your definition of embody mean in this process?
I was curious about that too.
Cool. Look at my notes.
We're here for your notes. We want to know about you. We want to know, yeah, like
We want your brain,
yeah,
not
your
Google.
brain, yeah.
I think I do aware I have a really specific aesthetic I'm looking for, but embodying for me it's more like just finding whatever choose within your body that it's heavily rely on your culture, your personal experience, and that including your physical training background. So I believe like your body cannot lie, your movement cannot lie. So like, for example, we are today we are working on the scene. It's like this captain character is trying to decide if they want to leave their community to seek for whatever is out there in the world. And we have this like push and pull moment. Like we have the ensemble staying on downstage, right? And then we have a new discover thing symbolic, a new idea where like the new adventure on downstage left. Wait, I'm not saying it right. Can we just start over again?
It's okay. It's okay. So yeah, describe the process here. So yeah, you're trying to lay the stage and frame the embodiment. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, we have two very different elements on the opposite side of the stage, and then we have whoever is trying to embody this character stay on the center, and then they just kind of like exploring what this push and pull moment that looks like, and then we dive deeper into what that looks like. You are leaving this group of people who care about you, and how does that make you feel? Like it's more like embracing, but also like a little bit grieving because you are leaving all of this behind. And then the other side is a very excited adventure, but also at the same time scary, and how you define that within your body, whether it's like really literally expressing like you are having anxious moments, or you are like very joyful, trying to define what that is.
Sure.
Oh my gosh,
So-
this is so hard. I don't like
This is great. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. When you're saying embody, you're saying like make a physical presentation of your inner emotions or feelings or senses or characterization, as opposed to just a string of text.
Yes, and I think it's more like trust your body know what's going on. I think
Like an intuitive sense?
Yeah,
Like
intuitive.
you're saying like okay.
It's very authentic.
Mm.
And through that process, then we kind of expand that a little bit. For example, like if you start to want to cry, and then your body is going to like naturally want to like shivering a little bit, and then later we choreograph into our movement. That's the time we make it a little bit either expand your movement, like make it bigger, make it more presentational.
Okay.
Later. But when we say embodying, I feel like it's less of a presentational. It's really just express through your body rather than words.
Okay.
And so, what the audience ultimately sees is not the embodiment, but the presentation of the embodiment, a choreography.
Yes, a combination of that. Yeah. And then I think the tricky part is how do you stay true to that while you are performing? I think that's the very challenging part. Yeah.
And aside from the aesthetic, how do you know you've arrived at a particularly embodied moment? Is there, people say good acting, bad acting? Is it just a sense of like, when you see it? Like, how for you do you identify when it's embodied, when it's not?
You just feel it. You're going to hate it.
The performer feels it or the audience feels it?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's a moment of like, for performers, it's like the moment you are not aware of, you are presenting, but simply to live in the moment, to feel with your ensemble, to even feel with the audience, and vice versa. When the audience starts to feeling with the performer, I think that's the moment. But when we are like detaching ourselves from the process, I think that's the moment you are just performing. And I think that's why I love live theater so much, because you can recreate that aura, like every single performer performing every single show, it's its own show.
Why do you think or why is it important for you to make devised theater instead of musical theater? Could Arriving at Dawn be a musical?
I mean, you could. uh I think for me, devising is it's a tool to how we get there, and the formats can be either physical theater or musical. So, and like I said previously, I love devising it because it's very come from a bottom of understanding. It come from a very authentic place.
So the authenticity of live performance is are there any qualities like that go into what we would expect from your theater? Chih-Jou Cheng's theater. We know you're the artist. We're gonna go see what you produced. And so like what about your work? Like what qualities are like symbolic of yours?
I think vulnerability. This is
Okay.
hard to say, but
Yeah.
it I really love to see. I really like to dive deeper into the discussion what makes us human, and I think regarding to how we look like, what's our culture background, we are human first. So that's also why I love physical theater so much, because when you stop speaking, when you really put into the time, patient to look, feel each other, then the mutual understanding comes in. So I think that's what I'm looking for. Not just the performer skill, but also the show itself has to be able to relate by everyone step into this room. Yeah.
One of the reasons that we felt drawn to make this show is that we keep hearing over and over again that theater's dead. No one's coming anymore. It's only the old people and they're dying off. And, with the plague, a lot of the Chicago storefront theaters have closed. So, what do you think would attract new audiences to theater? Because as performers, of course, we want more audience.
I First of all, I don't know about the first thing it's truth to the whole world. Maybe it is in a way that for commercial theater, being to be really honest, because you can choose to spend the same amount of money doing different entertainment stuff. And personally, I think art is a very powerful, not replaceable human need for building community, to building healings. Like, we have theater, we create theater for worship purposes, for gathering. I think human just naturally needs that. So how to attract new audience? I don't know. I didn't really think about that question. I feel like for me, it's really to just, I want to use theater to connect to people. So whoever willing to step into this theater space, our job is to connect to them, to be real with them. And I don't know. And
So
so
it's kind
like,
of like you've got the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. You're presenting art that's coming from you. It's true. It's vulnerable, and so you have a sense that if you make it, then there will be people who want to come and see it. Is that what I'm getting?
maybe, I guess that's what I say, like, don't ask me to do marketing.
Okay.
I think you're very talented at marketing. But I think what we're trying to figure out is obviously theaters are dependent on ticket sales. And I could not agree with you more that art is an essential human need. But particularly in the United States, it's not one that is cultivated the way it is. We're going to talk with performers all over the world. And, in Europe, there's entire systems built in where artists make enough money to live on, where art is a guaranteed public good in a way that we don't have in the United States. So do you worry about that? Do you worry about ticket sales, or are you doing the field of dreams? Are you trusting that people will find you and want to connect?
The reason why I'm worried about ticket sale, it's more like we put in this work and this is the divine process. This is a voice from a community. I want to reach more people rather than how much money do we get, because there is no way I can make a fortune doing this. And so in a sense, I'm also not worried about that, because whoever it's going to come, they want this as well. And you can force people who don't want something to want something. So
the purpose is that it is to create whether or not people are drawn to the work, those that are drawn to it, you want to make sure that there is a something that is true and from the heart, and it comes from a place of vulnerability, and that it will create a connection between you and the audience and each other, and elevate towards something more spiritual, more fulfilling, more uplifting.
I think it's all of the above. It's offering a space, brave space for discussion, to encourage each other to think deeper about what are we doing as human right here.
Okay.
So sometimes it could be challenging, like if we are talking about social justice issue, racism, global warming, like social activists, it could have some difficulty, emotion or curve, but it's to create that brave space and togetherness of how we can hold each other as we are figuring out whatever we are facing right now. And it's to encourage people to step into other people's perspective and see the world from that perspective, not even just for these 2 hours, with the hope that we can start have more compassion to each other. Again, don't ask me to do marketing. So the show I do so far, it's always sliding scale. I want people to come into the space. So yeah.
Who encouraged you or inspired you to pursue this art? Any artists you particularly admire or emulate?
Yeah, I do have a lot of artists who inspire me, and I like Akra Khan, Hofesh, Ariane Mushkin from Theatre du Soleil. Um, I really love their work. In terms of who encouraged me, like I just wake up one day, feel like the urge of doing theater, despite everyone told me it's impossible. Um, and I just not go for it right away, but I think because I stick with it, so people start to support me now.
Are there those inspirations? Are they like they're the ones that give you fuel to make the art, or are there sort of like reflections? Are there elements of their works that you find that you resonate with you, that you want to carry on the torch and bring into your work?
Oh yeah. Also, how can I forget to mention Pina Bausch? Yes. Also, one of my biggest inspiration, I don't personally know her, but I remember when I saw one of her piece, I forgot the English name, and the other one it's like cafe, the other one it's like something something spring. Uh that's the moment click for me because another thing is I'm always having trouble growing up to express myself, to even know what I'm feeling most of the time. But when I see those dance, it's almost all of a sudden the world start make sense. And I was able to like start to define that beauty part of feelings or just I don't know. Like, see, I can't even have words right now.
I mean,
Don't.
I think I think you express that really beautifully. I think I know exactly. I mean, I don't. Who can say? But I think that was a beautiful expression and moment of connection for you.
I mean, the poets, their whole job is to try to put beauty into words, and so as performers, like we try to put it into performance, right? So like, don't ask me for the word thing. I'm doing my best. No, it's totally fine.
I keep joking about that's why I do wordless physical theater. Words.
Yeah. Well, great.
I did have one question for you. How would you define success for this show? What does that look like?
For specific for arriving at dawn, or
Yes.
Forget.
Because that's what the process you're in now.
I want to start a conversation, like especially particularly there's a lot of discriminate towards refugee, immigrants, racism. So I just kind of want to like start a conversation about before we talk about any of the political issue, like come see us, come see immigrants as human first. And let's have a conversation about why we want to migrate. And I think everyone, if you are a human being, you should be able to relate to that. Because at any given moment, you leave your home, you go to college, you go through a process of like growing up. That's a journey. And as immigrants, migrants, essentially you are doing that. You are trying to find new connection. You are trying to find a place that you belong. And that emotional journey, everyone should be able to relate to that. So I just want to start a conversation and start to encourage people to look at things from a different perspective, from refugees' perspective or from immigrants' perspective. Even someone come here as a really skilled worker, you might think they have more privilege, but they also have their own story. They have their story that is worth for us to listen. And yeah, so just kind of encourage people to start listening to each other and have more compassion towards each other. Yeah.
Awesome. Do we have anything else?
I don't think so. This has been just a really embodied,
Yeah.
engaging,
embodied,
encouraging conversation. And thank you so much. I know you're very busy, so we appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks again to Chih-Jou Cheng for joining us and talking with us about life as a successful physical theater artist in Chicago. Having seen an earlier iteration of Arriving at Dawn, I can tell you I'm thrilled to see what future development of this project will bring. Want to learn more about Chih-Jou and her company, the Dawn Theater Project? Click the links below. Like this video and want to see more from this channel? Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us back here next week as we dive into the devised.